Clippers Nuggets so far has just been everything basketball fans have hoped for. This is basketball crack, basketball cocaine, whatever you want to call it. Just two awesome games so far. By far the best games out of, the set of games that have been played so far. Recording this on a Tuesday morning. In just the two games alone, there's already been a lot of layers and a lot of things to look forward to in the series because of these two games. But first, we got to start with Kawhi Leonard because he's back. He's been fully back for a while now, and I'm just knocking on every piece of wood that he stays healthy because, first of all, fuck Stephen A. Smith, man. I don't know why I'm going this route, but I just want to say something really quick. Calling Kawhi Leonard the worst superstar ever and also imploring him to retire is just fucking ridiculous. Because there is no way you could watch, well, as a Sixer fan, it does give me a little bit of PTSD seeing this version of Kawhi Leonard that we have been seeing, the last 25 games or so, and now in these two playoff games. Although the first game, he shot well, but he also turned the ball over a lot, and the Clippers kind of were clunky and got away from their stuff offensively in the first game. But Kawhi Leonard was on that Terminator shit yesterday, man, and that is fun to watch. So fuck Stephen A. for saying all this shit about Kawhi Leonard not being a appealing superstar. That's a bunch of bullshit, because there is no way you could watch that Terminator-ass performance and think that. But it's awesome seeing Kawhi play this well. I have never seen someone, as far as like getting to your spot to elevate and maneuvering and meandering your way to your spot no matter what, Kawhi Leonard is on the short list of the best I've ever seen do it. I mean, you're talking about Kobe Bryant. He was really good, always good at getting to his spots, obviously. Paul Pierce was underrated at getting to his spot right around that elbow area, especially later in his career. Just in terms of getting to your spot, Kawhi Leonard is one of the best I've seen do it. With that tight handle, those big-ass hands, and those insanely huge shoulders, and that ox strength. And it's funny because Chuck said on the broadcast yesterday that Kawhi looked a little slimmer, and he kind of does, but that dude is still strong, because in that first game, him and Aaron Gordon were having some hand-to-hand combat on the block. But in Game 2, Kawhi played one of the best games of his career. 39 points, 5 assists. 4 of 7 from 3, 5 of 19 from the field. At one point, he was like 12 of 12 from the field and did not miss. He attacked Jamal Murray early, and then by that point, he had already gotten rolling. He did some great weak side free safety stuff on defense to kind of confuse Jokic, and we'll talk about that in a bit because obviously that is very key in this series. But Kawhi was spectacular. He is one of the best playoff performers of all time, full stop. Kawhi Leonard's last 65 playoff games, he's averaged basically 29, 8.5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists, shooting 57% from 2, 38% from 3, 64 true shooting percentage. Just one of the best to ever do it. And the crazy thing is you can kind of do the what-if thing with his career because of his health. But regardless, the Clippers can win any playoff series with this version of Kawhi Leonard when he's healthy. From the Nuggets side of things, you feel comfortable still because they have the best player in the world in Jokic, obviously. But you just look at how the Clippers are guarding Jokic. I wouldn't say he's been A-plus Jokic so far in this series. Even in the first game, where the Clippers obviously had that 20-point lead and the Nuggets came back, I thought Jokic still had like a B plus type of a game. Now, I say that and he had like 29, 12, and 9. But I thought the way the Clippers were defending him, one with Zubac, letting him go one-on-one, and then also as Jokic started doing like spins into the lane and stuff, they would double on the spin. They tried timing the doubles differently because you have to try everything with a player as smart as Jokic. And I thought in Game 2, they had a lot more success with that. Harden came in a few times on, Jokic post-ups to double and was able to force some turnovers. Chris Dunn, I thought, did a really good job. The Clippers defense almost had to, do stuff 3 steps ahead just to meet Jokic's intellect. because Jokic would spin sometimes on the block into the lane. The second guy would come double, and Jokic, having already seen that a few times earlier in the game, would anticipate that and pass it, to the usual cutter that's right there by the dunker spot. But then there's Chris Dunn right there reading the next pass ahead, and he had 2 really big steals in that game. Kawhi Leonard also zoned up Jokic a few times on the weak side corner. Those were both of his steals were off of Jokic passes, where Kawhi was right there anticipating that Jokic would try to get rid of the ball quickly when he got doubled, and he's over there as the third guy making the read and getting the pass. I thought the Clippers did a really great job defending Jokic, and honestly probably the best I've seen this side of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have, always had a method of defending Jokic. Obviously, when Westbrook was in the game, in game 2 especially, the Clippers just don't care. Westbrook can hit all the corner threes they want, and the Clippers still clearly don't care. And if they have to give up some big threes, then so be it. And Westbrook, to his credit, has hit some big threes in this series. The first game was kind of funny because the last 7 minutes, that's the entire Russell Westbrook experience. Also, I want to shout out Kofi, who had a funny tweet where he said that Russell Westbrook was basically the item box in Mario Kart. That shit had me dying, like, no lie, because that's fucking funny. It's like, oh, Westbrook will throw the blue shell at you if you're in first place and winning and blow your own team up. Or, you get the red shell and you knock the ball off James Harden, to seal the game. It was the complete Russell Westbrook experience. But regardless, the Clippers are going to play off of him, even if he shoots 1,000% from 3 in the corner. But there's just so many little individual matchups that are fun. Obviously Zubac and Jokic. I love watching those two fight each other on the low block. It's literally watching 2 giant grizzly bears jockey for position. Aaron Gordon, he's going to have to find a way to stick to Kawhi more, because the Clippers were just, at the start of that game, they were just hunting Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray, he had a pretty good offensive game, but they were hunting him on the defensive end. I thought Murray did make some nice defensive plays, but if you get Kawhi switched on to Jamal Murray, Kawhi's just going to eat that alive. I thought David Adelman also went with some weird lineup choices. But the thing is, the Nuggets really, outside of their top 6, top 7, they really don't have much else. Westbrook is the 6th guy. And then you have to play one of Peyton Watson, Jalen Pickett, and DeAndre Jordan. And they all played yesterday, but those are not guys that I want to rely on all the time in the playoffs. Even Peyton Watson at this stage, although he's really good defensively, he also cramps the spacing. He also had some, missed time cuts. Jokic, one of his turnovers, he just overshot an alley-oop. And you could say that was on Jokic too, but you could also argue that Peyton Watson kind of jumped and, gave a signal too soon, because he gave a little signal right there. But then you look at the Clippers and some of their bench guys, their bench completely smashed the Nuggets bench yesterday, by the way. And benches shouldn't be relied on so much in the playoffs, but you still need to have guys on the back end of your rotation. Like even Ben Simmons yesterday, although he still won't look at the rim, he did have one layup where he attacked fervently. Good job, Ben Simmons. Also had, a nice outlet pass to Chris Dunn off of a turnover. Even he gave you some productive 7 minutes. Derrick Jones Jr. is going to give you Derrick Jones Jr., he's been there before. He's going to give you productive minutes. Nicholas Batum, still at this age, hitting big threes with that quick release and making smart plays, although he was involved in that turnover that sealed the game in game 1 on Saturday. But the Clippers, it just feels like they have more scoring options. They have more ways to bend the defense. And like I said before this series started, this is a classic case of a team that is really fucking good and hitting its stride right now versus a team that is being propped up by the best player in the world. And which one of those things are going to give? And the Clippers have seemed to have, I wouldn't say they have found a way to slow down Jokic, because Jokic is probably going to figure out that coverage, and then the Clippers are going to have to readjust again. But at the very least, the Clippers have the personnel to slow Jokic down. Outside of Jamal Murray, they really don't have like a perimeter player that can create off the dribble in ways that the Clippers do. Norm Powell, who got going finally towards the end of the game yesterday, you wonder if that confidence is going to carry over into game 3. But you have James Harden, who is still playing a really good floor game, still at this stage in his career. Look, James Harden is one of the best to ever do it. I remember when I did an Anthony Edwards video all the way back when, and in the thumbnail, I put James Harden on the thumbnail with a list of all the great guards like Dwayne Wade, Kobe, Michael, etc. And there were some comments that were like, why is James Harden on there? And I'm like, are you fucking serious? He's one of the best to do it. Yes, I know he has no rings, and I would take a lot of shooting guards over James Harden in the playoffs just in terms of who to trust and who I would give the ball to, but he's still one of the best to do it, and he is still one of the best to do it today. And even though Harden, admittedly, outside of like half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter in game 1, he was terrible outside of that in that game. And he was so-so to start yesterday's game. But he still took a lot of threes. He got teammates involved. He did have some lackadaisical defensive plays, but he also, like I mentioned earlier, had very timely doubles on Jokic that forced turnovers. Definitely handled his switches on the block a little bit more, which is what he was known for. But James Harden is still a very good floor general and is somebody that knows how to score and get to the line. For the Nuggets, another thing I'm concerned about is Aaron Gordon and this lingering calf injury, which doesn't seem to be ideal. He still played 38 minutes, but you just wonder how much that's impacting him. Also had a big missed dunk yesterday. I was so shocked by that. See, this series has had everything, man. There's been chaotic possessions. There's been flopping. I'm glad people are finally catching on to Jokic's flopping because he flops. There was big shots. There was big defensive plays. There was game-tying shots. There was, the return of the Terminator, Kawhi Leonard. Jokic still had a triple-double, even though I thought he had a very C+, B- game. It's going to be interesting watching that series going back to LA, man. I think the Nuggets really have to, you have to win one of these games, obviously. But I just think game 3, you want to come out with a stronger mindset. And Jokic, you would hope, comes in sharper. He did not rest in the second half of this game, so I think that has something to do with it. But heavy as the head wears the crown. You are the best player in the world, and you have to figure it out. If there is somebody that could solve the Clippers' defense and Ty Lue, it is that guy. I'm trying to think back to past first-round series where you watch the series and you're like, these two teams should be facing each other deeper into the playoffs. This is one of those series. Philly, New York last year, that was also one of those series, but that was because of injury and the Sixers fell all the way to the 7th seed, but that was definitely not your typical first-round series. And also the Western Conference, because there's so many good teams, sometimes the lower seeds are just really good teams, and you just naturally get those type of, second-round vibe, first-round series, Like the Clippers have been in a lot of these. Remember the 2015 first-round series between them and the Spurs, where when 7 and Chris Paul hit a go-ahead bucket off the glass while he was on I'm pretty sure he had a popped hamstring a little bit. There was also a lot of those first round series in 2014, like the Thunder Grizzly series that went 7, Clippers Warriors that went 7. But yeah, this is one of those series where you had hoped that it would live up to everything basketball fans had hoped for, and just in 2 games so far, it's done that plus some.